afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this webinar dedicated to global audiovisual trends. My name is Saïva Nedi. I'm an analyst at Dataxis, and I will be presenting the introduction of today's webinar. And then I will give the hand to Javier Peñin, VP Sales of Mirada, and Roshana Dalati, VP Marketing. They will be going through the transformation of the market that is triggered by OTT deployments, and they will analyze how traditional pay TV operators can evolve to cope with the emerging viewing patterns and with the arrival of new entrants that are investing in the OTT space. So first, first on the first slide, if we want to draw a global overview of the content distribution market, we can first have a look at the TV household structure, and it's undeniable that linear pay TV has been progressing over the past years in terms of subscribers, and it's reached around 50% of total households in 2018. The total number of households that are not equipped with a TV set is on the global scale progressively decreasing. And it's interesting to note because we often highlight the potential of a substitution of TV by OTT distribution, which starts to be visible in some of the most advanced countries. But at the same time, many other countries are still at a stage of equipment, of installation, and we still have markets where pay TV and OTT are rising in parallel. And taking OTT apart, the fastest increase is observed on pay TV subscriptions, which are becoming more and more attractive. And moving to the next slide, in terms of technologies. So in terms of technologies, the technologies that are used to distribute pay TV, we observed continued prevalence of cable in 2018, as 45% of pay TV revenues were captured by cable operators during the year. These players are followed by DTH and IPTV operators that are at 37 and 15% of total pay TV revenues. So we can see in this chart that pay OTT represented only 2% of total revenues at the end of the year. So this technology to distribute pay TV remains marginal today on the global scale, but the ratio varies widely depending on the region. And it's expected to increase substantially in the coming years. And this will be explained more in detail by Javier and Roshana later on in the presentation. And now, if we can see that the wide disparities that exist between regions are highlighted here. The weight of each region on the TV market varies significantly. And among the key elements that the most striking elements on this slide that we can stress, we can see the domination of North America that is crucial. In 2018, the region represented only 5% of the global population, and yet more than half of all pay TV revenues were generated in the two territories that constitute the region, the US and Canada. And a similar but much more moderate scheme is visible in Europe. Europe accounts for 10% of the world population and close to 20% of total pay TV revenues. And on the opposite side, Asia Pacific, Middle East Africa are regions that haven't reached their potential yet, and their share of pay TV revenues is significantly decorrelated, significantly lower than their weight in terms of population. So the differences that we can see come from variations concerning development, GDP, economic growth, but there are also differences in terms of market structure, as we can stress that in North America, pay television is the standard. There are very few households receiving only free-to-air channels, while on other regions, free-to-air channels can constitute a strong part of the TV landscape. And here, what's interesting to highlight, to outline, is the growth potential of the different regions. So, if we look at historical data, we can see that over the past 4 or 5 years, the region Asia Pacific recorded the strongest growth at around 5% per year on average. Middle East, North Africa, and North America are growing less rapidly. and in Europe and in Latin America, pay TV revenues started to slowly decrease. So these three markets with the slowest growth are also the ones where pay TV operators are the most challenged by the emergence and the adoption of non-linear, flexible offers that are distributed through OTT. So if these trends might have been destabilizing at first for these operators, they now have the possibility to also transform OTT into a growth driver. And I will now let Javier Penin and Roshana Dalati give you more insight on these particular trends and on global player strategies and results.
Thank you very much, Saeva. This is Roshana, VP Marketing at Mirada. So continuing with Saeva's words, in the last few years, we've seen the rise of new technologies like OTT, and it made the premium content providers to appear on the market with their very own over-the-top platforms and start gaining subscribers attracted by high-quality on-demand content and by their own OTT applications with comfortable access on the go through their smartphones and tablets. So with this phenomenon of subscribers cutting the cord, operators and telcos have to make changes in their strategies to adapt themselves to this new scenario because the scenario apparently came here to stay. Well, majority of them decided not only to invest in their very own over-the-top platform, but also to make agreements with those premium content providers by offering their rich content or direct access to their apps through operators' platform. This coexistence, how we could call it, the new status quo within the industry, enables the operator to reinforce his position as the primary content aggregator. Well, we all know that OTT services have become increasingly popular, but viewers right now, they not only demand them, they actually expect to have OTT access to content. So if we look at growth numbers of pay TV and OTT, we'll see that there wasn't actually much choice for the operator than to adapt. The first indicator we'll take a look at is the revenue. We'll see here that even though pay TV revenues are still much higher, the growth is quite flat, actually with the tendency to decline. Whereas when we look at the over-the-top platforms, the growth is, they are steadily growing, so there is a nice tendency for the future. The second indicator, growth indicator we'll look at is the subscriber growth. Here we can see very clearly two groups in the upcoming 4 years. On one hand, we have those that opted to offer over-the-top platforms as unique solutions and over-the-top platforms combined with some other form of entertainment, whether it's cable, satellite, or something else. So in this case, we'll see a very clear growth. On the other hand, we have those that are offering the traditional model without OTT, and we see that in the upcoming 4 years, they will be declining quite heavily. The third indicator we'll look at is the average revenue per user. This is one of the most important, this is the key KPI for in our pay TV industry. And in here we'll see that while in 2014, over-the-top was amounting a little bit less than 20% of all the ARPU in the pay TV industry. By 2023, it will reach almost half of it. In here we're talking about 45%, which is quite a lot. So when we look back at those three numbers of growth, revenue, subscriber growth, and average revenue per user, it's quite clear that, well, it's easy to understand that many companies will have a growing appetite to join the OTT party, and something similar is happening to the companies we'll be talking about today. And these companies are Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple. We can symbolically say that we've been seeing in the recent years that they're making the leap from Silicon Valley to Hollywood, and this is something that is worrying traditional pay TV operators. But how worried should they actually be? Well, let's see what mark they have been making on the industry so far. Something very important to note is that they already come with quite a lot of legacy. First of it being their brand. They enter the online video landscape from a very strong position. They're established companies with huge brand value. In here, we can see that in the top 5 most valuable brands worldwide, all four of them, Amazon, Google, Facebook, and Apple, are in top 5. This is a report from 2018, but if we take a look at the very similar report made by Forbes, it was released in 2019. It's almost the same. The only change is that Samsung is being substituted by Microsoft. So they do have their brand. Another thing that they have and use, part of their legacy, is the engagement. And well, we understand it much better when we see results of a survey like this, that 44% of millennials would rather give up sex for a year than quit Amazon. Well, let's talk about engagement here. So even though it's a survey data, I really hope that at least some of my audience here today will have a similar reaction to the one I had, which was something like this. Okay, let's move on. Another very important part of their legacy, of their resume they come with, is the money, and they do have it. So they do have it to invest heavily in original content. Well, here we are not very surprised that Netflix is investing in original content. They've been doing it for some years already. But what is quite interesting to look at is that Apple and Amazon are moving in the same direction. The average growth of their spending is around 40% and 54% in the case of Apple. Well, it's very interesting knowing that they start in 2017 in Apple's case at only $500 million and Amazon $1.5 billion. So they definitely are planning to spend their money on there. When we look at the share of OTT video revenue in the US, well, in 2015, those companies we're talking about were already amassing more than 50%. So that much didn't change by 2018, but we can see two very interesting things. First of them is the entrance of Facebook as a new player in there. They're starting with their Facebook platform, so we'll see how it evolves in the future. And another interesting fact in here is if we look at Amazon's numbers, at Amazon's piece of cake, we'll see that its revenues have been increasing, but funnily enough, at the cost of decreasing revenues from Netflix. So this is an interesting fact to keep under observation for the future. When we talk about the total revenue from TV and video, and we look at this graph, we might think that traditional TV has nothing to worry. It still amasses the vast majority of all the revenue in the sector, and it seems all right. But if we take a look at the graph that moves us more into the future, we'll see that the situation is quite different. When we talk about the revenue growth, we see that all the other companies are growing heavily. Their growth is quite impressive, whereas traditional TV's growth has been slowed down. So this is not the only thing that's happening with traditional TV, and we'll see it clearly when we look at the US demographics and their viewership of traditional TV. In here we have data from that show us the drastic drop that the youngest generations, when we talk about young generations, we talk about those that are between 12 and 34 years old. Please excuse us, everyone that feels offended by this description. And we see a very huge drop in here. The only generation, the only demographic group that is growing in viewership of traditional TV is actually the one of 65 plus. So if they're not watching TV, what are those young people doing? Where are they? And here we move to this question. Where are they? What are they doing? Well, right now I will ask you to please make use of the platform you're being currently watching this webinar from. On your left sidebar, you have the option to click on the raise hand. So when I ask you a question and you agree with that, you can raise your hand. Just please remember to unmark it afterwards so it doesn't stay up there forever. So my first question is, how many of you do recognize this game? Okay, I see quite many raised hands in here. That's not a surprise. It's Fortnite. It's been incredibly viral. It's been a hype name, hype brand in 2018. So it's not a surprise. But here's another question. Please raise hands if you have kids that play Fortnite or if you yourself are a player. Okay, we have several parents in here within the audience. Okay, we share it with you. And now, please, I ask you for a little bit of honesty. You won't be judged. Please, if you can raise hands, if you spent any money on Fortnite in the last year. Okay, yes. We have several people that were spending money on Winter Soldier packages and other bonus packaging for Fortnite. So yes, well, Fortnite's been a success. It's been a huge hit. How? Why? What's going on in there? At some of their stats. In 2018, they've amassed a huge growth between January and November. They gained over 150 million new players worldwide. It's a lot. And it's not only that, they also recorded earnings of $2.4 billion in 2018. And it's really a lot of money for a free-to-play game. So what's the key to that success? How did they pull it off? What's going on there? We'll try to look for the answer here. Well, we've detected three fundamental pillars of their success. The first one is the social networking. Young generations that are playing this game, they like to feel part of the group. They like to feel connected to their friends. And this game allows it. They're playing together. The second one is it's a free of charge game. So it's easy to join, and people that normally don't have their own earnings yet, they don't have their own money, have no entry barriers for that. And the third pillar, also very important, is the in-app purchasing. Something that enriches the participation, something that personalizes the experience, that provides your very own image and identity. It's also one of the key attractive points of Fortnite. So all of those connected are the key to Fortnite's success, and it's something for other companies to take note, to take into consideration. So when we're talking about young generation, we've been talking about several the four companies in question here. We know that they are native environments for those young people. We can actually see here that both Apple and Amazon, two of those four companies, are in the top 5 favorite millennial brands. So in order to understand it a little bit better, it will be good to dive deep into each one of them. And now I'll pass the voice to my colleague, Javi Penny.
Thank you, Rosana. Thank you for your presentation and sharing with us all the different information about what is going on the video landscape. And moving on what is happening today in the industry, let's try to deep a little bit more in detail on what each one of these actors are doing in the industry, in the video arena. Okay, so let's start with Apple. Basically, Apple was deployed in 2016. And they just recently announced a reshape of their services earlier in March this year, not only coming with a huge investment in content, but also reshaping the whole bunch of services and look and feel of the application. But still it looks like they are addressing this reshape focusing on their existing subscribers. So there are like a question mark of how this new service is going to get traction in the industry and how it looks like. What apparently is also happening is that they are approaching in a friendly way to the pay TV operators. But nevertheless, a few questions need to be resolved, and it looks like it is still a little bit soon on how they are progressing in this area. Okay. When we move on with Facebook, Facebook was deployed in 2017 with the Facebook Watch service, and on the first step they were focusing on ad-supported video-on-demand content and user-generated content. Some reports says that with this first approach, there was still some work to be done on Facebook, basically because they were not being able to provide enough or reliable information on what was the reaction of the subscribers. And somehow, in order to attract more investment from the advertisers, this needed to be sorted out or at least improved on their side. There is also an interesting move on Facebook that they are doing, which basically is the huge investment that they are doing on premium live sport content. It is interesting to see that they are entering the core of the traditional TV, and some of the reports say that this could be a strategy of engaging with the existing users, and this could be a way of securing that these users are in the platform and are using Facebook platform as much or as long as possible, and trying to learn about their behaviors, trying to learn what kind of content they like. And this could be a strategy to learn from them and try to prepare their next move to offer different kind of services once they know what they like. Okay, but from the pure traditional pay TV business, it is a really interesting move to see how this company is investing in this kind of content. Moving on to Amazon, a well-known company. We all know how aggressive they can be in the market. It is clear that they rely their Amazon Prime Video service on their existing Amazon Prime subscription service, and it looks like it was very successful. Not only that it has been very successful, the numbers of the stats say that they are even expected, or it is expected, a huge growth between 2018 and 2020, huge growth above 40%. So it looks like the strategy of linking their video service with their Amazon Prime subscription service is working fine. And for sure, a way of boosting and accelerating this growth will be also driven by the fact that they are investing a lot of money on content, and it looks like it is working on their side. It is also interesting to see that they are approaching the pay TV operators in a friendly way. So they are presenting themselves as a company that will be able to improve or to help the operators to improve their service. And they will be able to make a proposition to the pay TV operators that will help them to increase their subscriber base by improving the content that they can offer to their subscriber base. Finally, we have Google and their Android TV platform, very well known. At this point, we would like to open a poll here, and we will be really interesting to see how many of you are engaged with Android TV at this stage. So many of you will be technology companies, many of you will be pay TV operators, but it is clear that it looks like it is a well-known today. Okay, so interesting to see that, as expected, there is a lot of traction in this technology today. Okay, and what it is clear is that the expectations of Android TV today are huge. I mean, they have presented, or they started with Android TV. Eventually, a few months ago, they moved to Android TV operator tier. And what also the statistics says about what are the expectations is that they should get a huge growth on the coming years. Mainly driven by the growth in Europe and Asia Pacific, but we cannot miss also markets like North America or Latin America, and we can see the line on how it is expected to grow. The situation on the pay TV operators is like it looks they are embracing this technology and that they are really getting different and assuming or moving into that direction. We can see here some example on how at the beginning Android TV was really very successful, and at some point, while operator tier come and get closer to the operators, it is also a fact that it is being successful in terms of market penetration. What could be one of the big success or one of the strategies behind that is how the Google present themselves in the sense of they created the operator tier as a way of showing how sensible they are to the operator needs, and basically how they are approaching the operators is a very friendly approach. Or basically is we can help you, we understand what the operator needs, and we are here to provide the kind of solution that we can provide for the pay TV operators. Having said this, what we cannot skip for sure is what has happened recently a few weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. It is clear that the US government make a clear ban to the Chinese companies, which were one of the main technology suppliers of Android TV platform, and it looks like everything is changing. There is like a shake in the industry. Everyone is repositioning. It is not clear who is more affected with this kind of new situation. And the good question is, so what now? What is coming in the coming months? Let's take a look for a while on what could be the real impact of the situation. This chart is interesting to see in terms of set-top box sales market last year in 2018, where we could expect that the Chinese companies in terms of set-top boxes sales and growth, we could expect that would be really huge. When we see the impact of Huawei sales in comparison with the rest of the set-top box suppliers on the left side of the slide, or we move to the right side and we see the Chinese suppliers in comparison with the rest of the set-top box suppliers, we could see that maybe the impact will not be so huge. Having said this, some factors that we need to take into account, and we think that it is happening clearly, is that what the situation is bringing. Clearly, the situation today, in our opinion, is bringing some chaos. The industry is confused. What can be done and what cannot be done? There has been a clear action from a specific government that has created this situation, and now the industry is taking a look on how the previous competitive situation where the Chinese was somehow bringing competitiveness into the industry could remain, or what will happen from now on. For sure, it is bringing some doubts. From the pay TV perspective, is it needed to rethink the strategy? Android TV, not Android TV? What can we expect when there is a real action from any government and then the status quo or the situation changes? Can we, the whole industry, rely on low-cost manufacturers, specifically coming from very low-cost markets like the Asian markets? And finally, what it is also happening is that it is an uncertain outlook. How can the operators and the industry be confident that there will be no more shakes and changes of the status quo of the situation? Is this the last final shake that will happen? Who knows? Can we rely on how to think on a strategy based on what we have today, but what will happen tomorrow or in 2 months' time? It is clear that something is happening, and it is not an easy question, neither an easy answer to the situation today. Okay. With this, with all this puzzle that we have today, from the pay TV operator perspective, how they can see what it is going on with these 4 big tech companies coming into the video landscape. We can see here as a summary that Apple TV, they just recently reset the service. They look that they are approaching pay TV operators, but first strategy clearly is addressing their existing subscribers that are really engaged with their technology. It is also Facebook Watch. It looks like very far away from the pay TV operators today, but we cannot miss the point of the huge investment on the premium live content and the fact that they are offering this content free of charge. So for sure, it could be an uncomfortable situation for the pay TV operators. Prime Video and Amazon, we all know how aggressive they can be in any industry, in any market that they are trying to break into. At first sight, they are announcing they are coming in a friendly way with the pay TV operators. They want to coexist with the current ecosystem. However, there is always some sort of uncertainty, and who knows what will be the real strategy behind. And finally, Android TV and Google. 3-4 weeks ago, we would have said that it is a clear path from the pay TV operators. Most of them are embracing this technology as a quick way to get access to content, to pay TV services, to applications. But with the latest news that we just mentioned, who knows? It is like a new period open. Nevertheless, it is clear that Android TV is still getting a lot of traction. But let's see what happens in the coming months. Okay. Continue with the presentation, and when we try to move to the pay TV operators perspective, and with the changes of the whole ecosystem and the new big companies coming into the video industry, what it is clear is that these changes could be understood from the pay TV operator perspective like a threat. What could be the threats, or what could be some of the topics that may worry to these operators, and for sure it will require to be sorted out in specific stages. One of them is who will own and who owns the subscriber. It is clear that today the pay TV operators have their own subscriber base. But the new tech companies are bringing not only content produced on their side, but also technology platforms that they want to introduce in the pay TV operators. So at the end of the day, it is a clear discussion open on who owns these subscribers. Linked to this potential threat, it is clear that once this is sorted out, who owns the subscriber is who will own the know-how about the content consumption. It is really important for any company to understand and to have intelligence on how the subscribers are using the services, what they like, what they do not like, and how to be able to learn and to impulse a way of promoting services based on their behavior. Okay, and the third one is will I have control over my product evolution as a pay TV operator? There is a clear question about that on how freedom will the pay TV operators have to evolve the solutions when these technology companies are bringing an open platform, but somehow an open platform with their own services or evolution roadmaps. So for sure there will be some efforts or some steps to be taken in order to reach some sort of agreement in every market, because the pay TV operator is the one who really knows about how every market behaves in terms of content consumption. With these changes as well, what can be also considered that it might bring in the industry? An opportunity. Why not? As in every change in life, there is always a way of creating an opportunity of it. And it is clear that for the operators and for the industry, these changes are bringing the global applications platform, which basically it is a fastest path to get access to interactive applications, to get access to added value services. Android TV and Google has made a great effort on enabling this kind of approach and this kind of path. And this might be one of the key success of Android TV traction in the market. How to facilitate these kind of services to the operators to propose the subscribers. Okay. Another opportunity for sure, Internet of Things. It is a clear market trend. We are not only talking today about content consumption, we are also talking about going beyond the pure content, the capability to offer subscribers added value services, relying on voice recognition to facilitate the subscribers the access to the services, the capability to control remotely different devices at the household, and much more that will come in the coming years through Internet of Things. For sure, some specificalities on technology standards needs to be sorted out, but the reality is here, and it is here to stay. The subscribers not only think on content consumption, thinks on a whole bunch of services that they are willing to pay for. Okay. The final one is the addressable advertising. And again, let's not think about addressable advertising on pushing content to the subscribers based on what their content consumption says to the operators or to the service provider. Let's think about addressable advertising of a way of learning what the subscribers like and trying to promote and to push services to them. Trying to be closer to their lives, to their lifestyle, what they like, what they do not like, and what is the behavior of these users. Okay. So, what can the pay TV operators do now? What are the advantages, or what is the real strength that the operators have now, or the potential strategies that they can address with these changes? There are two main pillars that we consider are really important for the operators. The first one is the existing engagement with the subscribers. One of the things that the pay TV operators have, and it is making them really strong on their position, is the existing relationship. The users, the subscribers, have a trusted existing relationship with the operators. The payment methods for the services are already in place. They know each other. They know how they work each other. So this is really something that it is important for the operators. And the second one on the right side is it is like more a challenge of a way of think on the strategy on how can me like a pay TV operator attract the new generations. We saw during Rosanna's presentation the kind of engagement that these new generations can bring into any industry, into any service, and it is a clear opportunity for the operators to move into that direction, to engage with these generations. Okay. How can the operators do that path? Clearly, a way of reinforcing the existing relationship is facilitating the way of how the users could pay for the services. If the operators are able to create a path to deactivate, and pay for the services they use, that will be very attractive for the new generations, and for sure that will reinforce very strongly the existing relationship that it is today between the subscribers and the operators. Okay. Second one for sure is embracing the new technologies. This is already happening. Internet of Things is here. It is not only just a matter of addressing content or content video consumption. It is a matter of going beyond that approach, controlling the services through the voice, controlling the services remotely, controlling the devices remotely. Somehow a way of engaging in a stronger way these companies or these service providers with the subscribers. Okay. And finally, once all these services are available, what it is really important, and once the industry have already surpassed the fact and the need of getting access to the services, no matter where the subscriber is or no matter what kind of device the subscriber is using, it is essential to secure a unified access to the content and to the services. It is essential for the service providers to secure that the learning curve of the users is as fast as possible and as easy as possible. And the best way to do that is make a unified access to this kind of content. Okay. What it is for sure really important for the operators and for the whole ecosystem and for all the different actors in the industry is that all the parties have a challenge ahead. It is clear that the pay TV operators will continue having a key role in the industry. They already faced changes in the past, like the entrance of OTT operators. Eventually, all the parties learned how to coexist together, how to get a balance, a win-win situation, and we are pretty sure that this will also happen with all these new different changes that are happening today. Okay. Thank you very much for attending the webinar. We hope it was interesting. It was a great opportunity for us to share our view on how we see what is going on today in the industry. And we remain at your disposal. You have there in the screen the email to access us. We will be attending in 1 week time to Broadcast Asia, so we will be more than happy to attend you there. Also, we will be attending IBC in Amsterdam in September, and we are open to any questions you have.
Yes. So in the meanwhile, this is Rosanna again. In the meanwhile, you can access on your sidebar the option with Q&A where you can raise your questions. And up until then, if we see that you have any, we would like to share with you the results of the survey that Javier raised before. So it was quite equally divided because we had 33% of you said that yes, you are currently engaged with Android TV. 35% of you are planning on it, and only 1/3, 30%, have no plans for it. So we can see here that 68% of you are planning to engage with Android TV or are already doing it. So it's actually quite interesting. We see that we're on the same page. Also, if you have any questions regarding what we do, or you want to know a little bit more about us as a company, you can access our website on mirada.tv. And we'll see our first questions in here. Javier?
Okay, we have here a question of how hard it is to get commercial agreements with Netflix, Facebook, Amazon. Who is easiest and who is harder and who is not agreeing? Well, based on our experience and knowledge, usually some of these suppliers are approaching pay TV operators or are engaging with pay TV operators asking for some minimum volumes in terms of agreements. Okay, we do not have information about what are these minimum volumes, but basically it depends very much on what is their position for how long they have been in the market. What we know as of today is, for example, Netflix has a more mature situation in the market, so they are selecting very carefully in terms of who they can engage with or not. Facebook, we do not have so much information about approaching pay TV operators, and other companies like Amazon or Apple, as far as we know, yes, they are quite open to engage with pay TV operators, understanding from their side that it is a way of providing content to these pay TV operators as aggregators. Okay, so this is yes.
The next question is, who will win the TV war, pay TV or streaming services like Netflix? Well, it's a $1 billion question. Everyone is asking themselves that. We actually think that there won't be the end of the world for any of those. As we were talking about before, they need to learn how to coexist, how to work together. And definitely both of them will evolve. They can't stay just the way they are. Netflix is also slowing down in some aspects. Pay TV is transitioning in many cases on a high-speed level. So definitely everything will change, and that's for sure. Who will win the war? There will be no winners, or all of them will be winners. That might be the right answer from our point of view.
Okay. There is another question about if pay TV future strategies to allow access everywhere will rights holders allow it. Well, basically, this is a situation that somehow has been faced in the past. When the entrance of OTT operators, this kind of renegotiation or this kind of changes on how the rights were negotiated with the pay TV operators had to be addressed. And for sure, with these new changes, this will also happen again. So it is clear that today we are engaged in a transition period where the rights were mainly focused on specific rights for specific operators. Eventually, this was somehow open and controlled by the geolocalization. So the transition is in there, and for sure the last word will be on the content providers that will need to decide how to move on.
Okay, now. There is also one thing. Many of you are asking us in the question and answers to share the presentation with you. Yes, it will be shared with everyone that's been attending, everyone registered. So don't worry, you will receive the presentation and the video afterwards in an email.
Okay. Let's move on with the last one. I don't think.
Yes.
Okay. So there is here the last one is, what is your view on Disney and what will effect on their entry will be? That is a really good question. I mean, since they announced the creation of their own OTT platform, we could say that most of the industry and the actors are taking a look on how they are going to move. They have a huge amount of content, very attractive content. Let's see what is their strategy. It is not easy to answer. For sure, it will be another actor in the whole new ecosystem that we are transitioning into, and it is also interesting to see, to be honest, not only how Disney will enter the industry, but what will be the final position of the current big OTT providers like Netflix when this content is limited to their specific platform and not shared with other platforms.
We have some other questions in here, quite a lot of them. So we're running out of time a little bit. So I think the easiest way is for you to get in touch with us, as Javier mentioned before. You have our email. You can ask us questions directly. You can come and see us in Singapore next week or in Amsterdam, and also access our website. So there are many ways to continue this conversation. It's been a pleasure to co-host this webinar with the taxis. It's been a pleasure to have you as an audience, and thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much for your attendance.
Goodbye.